Behind the whole movement and how it all came to be, how certain things that happened in my life, made me think certain ways that maybe if they didn't happen, I wouldn't be this way, and I wouldn't have this big reverence for life in every which way, and being grateful for life every day. So I'll let you have it. What everybody wants to know is back in 1997, I used to work for the Long Island Railroad. I was a track worker. I worked there for 4 or 5 years. And one day, that day happened to be tax day, April 15th, 1997. I was working on the tracks and next to the third rail, and my boss told me that the third rail power was off. We had been working there all day. I went to one spot, one little section that we had to go do before lunch. It was around 11:40 in the morning. And my boss says, hey, you and Doug the Slug, go over there and clean out that one spot. And it just so happened to be between the running rail and the third rail. And I had worked around it many times before, and we always, they told us the power was off, but we always treat it as if it's electrified anyway. And guess what? It wasn't off, and it was electrified. And to make a long story short, I swung at it with a pickaxe. I had a pickaxe in my hand, and I swung one end of the pickaxe. As I swung it, one end of the pickaxe hit the third rail. My right leg was grounded to the running rail, and for one very fast split second, I connected I completed the circuit. But the momentum of me swinging the pickaxe removed me from it. But it was that one quick second that was it went through my legs, inside one leg and out the other. And, but like I said, it couldn't have been less than an eighth of a second. But it blew all my clothes off me. My leather boots were smoking. Some of my clothes were actually singed to me. Where I had the Adidas pants on, and some of the fabric was like into the skin. And
do you remember that second? Do you remember?
Yeah, I remember vividly. I mean, super vividly. I as it happened, I never got knocked out. So that's what was like the miracle thing. I didn't get knocked unconscious. But like I said, it happened so fast. It was just like a big. You ever see a magic show and it's a big puff of smoke?
Yeah.
That's really what you heard, right? That. But it was just like someone just like did a magic show and just a whole bunch of puff of smoke about 20, 30 feet in the air, and it was just smoke everywhere.
Wow.
So yeah, you're making me remember. And then what happens is, I smelt not only the smoke, but burnt flesh at the same time. Oh, God. And I didn't really even realize it was mine because it smelled so god-awful. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So to make a long story short, I had heard later on, a few months later after the accident, that other people had called 911 thinking that a bomb went off. 911 people that lived in that area of Queens thought that a bomb went off, and they called called emergency 911 saying a bomb went off. And so when that happened, all these people, a lot of Chinese people in Flushing, Queens, when they got me off down the embankment, they were actually there with buckets of water to throw on my legs.
Wow.
And I'm like, no, because it could be dirty water. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, wow. Yeah,
but they meant well. They meant well.
Wow.
They you know what I'm saying, Eric? They meant well, but.
Didn't you say something like they told you not to look?
So then this is the part I'm coming up to. Yeah, where I'm holding on to my friend. My arms are around him. He's a big dude like me, and I'm holding on to him, and I'm looking over his shoulder like I'm looking at you. And his name is Joe Panacci. I'll never forget. And I'm looking at him, and he's one of my good friends. And he's like, "Don't look." And and for 1 second I remember I'm holding on to him like this, and I just took my head like this and looked down and saw him. I just saw big like potato chip flakes of my skin just literally just hanging off. On both of my legs. So yeah, I can laugh about it now, but this is so after he told me, not to look, I looked, got into the ambulance. They were calling for a 911 helicopter to Shea Stadium to airlift me to the burn center. But I remember hearing on the radio that they couldn't get anybody to unlock it because I guess it was, Shea Stadium was closed.
Yeah.
So they couldn't unlock it. So then I got a presidential, what do you call that when you have 20 cars?
Police escort?
Yeah, I had a police escort from there all the way into the burn center in Manhattan. I remember being in the back of the ambulance, and the tech was there, and he wanted to give me an IV, because and I'm refusing IVs. What's really bothering me is the smell. It's the smell of my burnt legs and my boots. My boots, the burnt leather smell was killing me. So I made him, take off my boots. I remember him taking the scissors and go right down the middle of the laces, cut them off, both boots, and throw them as we're moving. Open up the back door and throw them out the. He threw them out the back door of the.
Back door in the
yeah, it was stinking. It was terrible.
Wow.
It was a god awful smell. It was.
Wow.
It was like I couldn't even describe it. It's burnt human flesh and leather. It's almost probably like the same smell. You know what I mean?
Can you imagine
burnt
finding
skin.
that boot on the side of the road and you're like, what is this?
It's still smoking.
Yeah.
I remember I still could have sworn that's why they were so smelly. They were literally still hot. You know, like the leather. It happened so fast. This all happened within like 10 or 20 minutes. It didn't take too long for the police to arrive and throw me in an ambulance and then take me to the burn center at Cornell in Manhattan. And then, so I got there, and this is the best part. One of the best parts of the story is I get there. I'm still in shock. I've refused all medical attention. Right? I wouldn't take an IV.
Fighting with you over this, like
the med guy wants to give me an IV, and the thing I refuse it. I'm in shock. I don't know what's going on. You know what I'm saying? Just know that there was a big accident, and so when they get me there, the doctor comes in. I'm in the emergency room. I got about 8 people around me asking me all kinds of questions. You know, this is not not too many people live from getting electrocuted by the third rail. So, I told you before, 1 out of 3 people out of 27 to get workers that got electrocuted to live and talk about it. You know,
only 3 out of 27.
1 out of 3 to live, and the others 24 have passed. So,
that's sad.
So the doctor says to me when I get there, he's like, "Oh, you've been electrocuted. We had to give you a urethra catheter," and I'm like, "Oh no, you're not." And we went back and forth for about 20 minutes. And then he goes, "All right, I'll give you 15 minutes. You got to pee," because what happens is you get electrocuted. The first thing is your kidneys shut down. So that's why. So I was able to get some out, but it did get it out.
Is it enough?
But another part was when I called my mom. They finally got me to take an IV. They got me on morphine. Right now, it went from being in shock. Now I'm gassy a little bit because they gave me a lot. And I can remember calling my mom up, and I've always had this joking relationship with my mom. Yeah. And I'm like, "Mom, you're not gonna guess what happened today." And she's like, "What?" I got electrocuted by the third rail. And she's like, "Stop fooling around," because I always play games with my mom, even to this day.
Yeah, you do.
I always
see this
I have this, this very friendly, laughing joke thing with my mom. So she wouldn't believe me, and then I remember handing the doctor. I'm like, "Can you talk to my mom?" And the doctor gets on. He's like, "This is Dr. Gomez from surgery. Wow. Your son has had a serious accident, blah blah blah," and that was all day one. This went on for 3 or 4 months of multiple surgeries, debridement, and all the other things that go along with skin grafting, because it's not like, oh, you just patch it up and fix. What happens is you have to clean all the dead skin off. You have to take the eschar off. They call it eschar, and it's painful. So I'm literally there. I used to go to this place called The Tank, where they would actually literally sit there and pick off the dead skin. So you can't do surgery or do any skin grafts until the site is clean. Even if you have one little bit, if you have one little bit of the skin that's contaminated or has the bacteria, it can wreck the rest of the skin graft. Well, guess what happened? The first time I had a surgery, after maybe 3 or 4 weeks after the surgery, I went home, and the skin grafts didn't take.
No way.
Yeah.
So they're on you and they're not taken.
No, they're falling off.
Wow.
Yeah, so then I have to go back to the hospital. Now I moved from Cornell Burn Center in New York City to the Nassau County Medical Center, the Burn Center, which was a lot better because now I get better visits, my friends and family, because it's a lot closer than going to Manhattan. Yeah. So that was a thing. But I was all prepared again. I had to go for another surgery, another 3, 4, 6 weeks of being laid up. And, not even where they put the skin graft sites. It's where they take the skin from to donate. It's more painful than almost the accident in itself.
Really?
Yeah. Because
where do they take it from?
They take it from my upper thighs and my butt and the side of my thighs. And what happens is when they take it off, they skin it off, meaning they like a cheese slicer. They take the very outermost layer of the skin, and what happens is that's the most sensitive. So what happens is when in doing that, when they do that, they skin it all off, and they use that new skin, is to patch you up, which is great. But what you're left for is a big giant scar that doesn't have any elasticity in it. So imagine having a 6 by 6 inch square, or a rectangle, and taking crazy glue and pouring it all over it. You know what I mean? What happens is, what happens with crazy glue? It makes everything hard. Yeah. So that's exactly what the scab felt like after about a week, because it starts to harden up. And then every time I would move, it would crack, and it would be very.
So crazy.
Listen, that was pain on top of pain, and there's even some other parts that I'm moving out where they used to dip me into a bleach bath. That was like the second week of going into the burn in North Cornell Burn Center. They would put me on a gurney, just like you see out of a movie, on a chain. They put me and hoist me up into a big stainless steel thing with like warm bleach water in it. And this is a burn center, so this is what they do in a normal thing. You know what I'm saying? This is part of the burn center. And they slowly, like torture. You know what I'm saying? I'm holding on to the thing. I'm like, ah, you know what I mean? And then they're lowering me down into it. And I did that for a week or two. That's all part of getting debridement. That's part of taking the eschar and the dead skin off. You know what I'm saying? Because as you could soak it, you know, the dead pieces come off piece. Yeah, I'm sorry.
So they had to do that right after going in the bleach bath?
This is all in preparation for surgery. You know what I'm saying? This is all in preparation for surgery because, you know, there was on that first surgery, some of the spots, it didn't all get infected, but 60 to 70% was, failed. It had to be redone. So yeah, some of the lower parts were fine, you know, which is great, but it wasn't easy. And I knew to forecast all the pain and torture I was going to go through after the first surgery. I was like, oh man, here we go again. Yeah, you know, but I did it. And then I remember it literally took me about 10 months before I was able to stand on my own 2 feet again. It was really bedridden and, you know, saying sedentary for 10 months straight, you know, between the day the accident happened and there. So imagine that. I went from 250 down to 188 pounds. I remember whiter. See how whiter than the paper? I was just as white as the paper because I didn't get any skin. I mean, sun.
Yeah.
So look at this is what I remember. I was so emaciated, but I was happy to be alive. You know, there was, you know, wasn't all bad. I was happy to be alive.
I can't imagine you sitting anywhere for
10 months.
Like 10 minutes.
I remember, check this out, after 10 months of doing this, I remember I was able to walk on my own. I remember going to the bathroom, able to reach the shower bar and stand on my own. 10 months, different. You know what I'm saying? This is by myself. I didn't have my mom or my friends helping me. You know what I'm saying? I was usually assisted. So after 10 months, I'll never forget the day. I grabbed the shower bar, you know, I was able to stand. And guess what I did next? I went and found my car keys. I hadn't driven in 10 months. I went out to my car. I had a Dodge Stealth at the time. Opened up the garage. There must have been like a good 8th layer of dust over the entire car. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? The car hasn't moved in 10 months. You know what I mean? So it was dust. And let me tell you, driving was like the first time. Everything was so real. I can remember right now. They could see like the trees and just driving down the block. It was like I was a new driver again. It was all too real. Yeah, it was. It was really down for that long and, you know, lost the perspective of driving. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And this is kind of what we're talking about, even going through something like that, how that changes your perspective every day going forward. Yeah, it's not business as usual.
No, that's what opened my eyes to how precious life is and how we should revere all life, even from a bee and an ant to the animals. You know what I'm saying? Reverence for all life. You know, we're all special here. And that's what that taught me is that if you had a sliding scale, you know what I mean? Like if of normal people, you know what I'm saying, really don't have, you know, after this accident, my slide moved all the way to the left to gratitude and empathy. You know what I mean? We're so blessed to be alive every day. We're so lucky, you know, even though no matter what you're ever going through, you know what I'm saying? There's somebody fighting for their life right now. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
Yeah, no, it's true. There's definitely somebody fighting. There's multiple people fighting for their life right now, and we're enjoying this beautiful day.
I know, right? And that's the thing. You got to be grateful for every single day. I mean,
So, me, you know, most people would think getting electrocuted would be their greatest nightmare, but it ended up being my greatest gift. It has had repositioned my whole life where I was just like any but normal other person, you know, normal guy. I was working, you know, union worker, this and that, and after this accident, it wholly changed the whole landscape of my life. Totally different. I got into all natural. I was always into preserving my life and just be like, oh my God, great day to be alive today. I don't know about anybody else, but today to me, it's a great day to be alive. And I still do this today. You know, I share it with.
You do this
if
every
anybody asks me, how's your day? I'm like, it's a great day to be alive. You know, we only get 100 years here. Well, I'm trying to defeat that purpose. I want to get 200, but at least if you get 100, you get 36. I think about this all the time. If you live to 100 years, you get 36,500 days.
Wow, that's an even.
Every 10 years is 3,650 days. Wow. So that's a lot of, you know, it just gives me perspective. You know what I mean?